It was oh so many years ago that we were having this discussion about bringing in Muslim immigrants into the United States. In fact, it was basically how I launched my first YouTube channel. Donald Trump appeared on Fox News and he said, "Do you see what's happening last night in Sweden?" And everybody was like, "Nothing happened last night in Sweden. What are you talking about?" What he was actually talking about was a documentary, a mini doc produced about crime in Sweden and refugees. And this sparked a big conversation about Muslims and things like that, for which I went to Sweden to investigate. And a lot of people were talking about this. What would happen if the United States allows large populations of of religious conservatives and Muslims into this country? That seemed to have been the debate. Well, the point that I was making the whole time was, for one, I really don't care. I think that the main issue is, well, for one, immigration's fantastic. We want more immigration. Genuinely believe that we do, but it's got to be controlled. It's got to be legal. Legally. That's what Donald Trump says. It's got to be legal because when people come to this country, we want them to integrate. We want them to be able to find jobs, to be happy, to live properly. And so what happens with Sweden is that when they just brought in all of these refugees from Somalia in the 90s, and they didn't do anything. These people were settled in the same place. What ends up happening is you create extrajudicial jurisdictions. You have areas where the entire population is Somali. I believe it was Somalia. And, or was it Sudan? I could be wrong. But you have a population that is not integrated with the native economy and population. So when the police come in, they say, "You don't do anything for us here. You have nothing to do with us," and it creates conflict. Well, we're starting to see that. So when I tried warning all these lefties and liberals, listen, you want to bring in immigrants, you want, the southern border right now, it's a big problem. It's got to be done legally. But they didn't listen. They didn't listen. So now what's happening? Michigan City, with all Muslim council, bans pride flags on public property at bizarre council meeting in which LGBTQ couple kiss in front of shocked religious groups. Hamtramck has banned LGBTQ flags from public areas. Okay, as is their right. It's their jurisdiction. They voted on it. Now, of course, the left is freaking out, demanding a state-level intervention because it violates civil rights or whatever. But what do you think happens when you champion the importation of religious conservatives into your state? This is what I try telling people over and over and over again. Law does not matter. We were talking about this last night. My friends, legality is meaningless. Okay, not completely meaningless, but mostly meaningless. When it comes to a very large nation like ours, we understand the law, and the law can be simple, like don't go faster than 60 miles an hour in this area. Is that a moral question or a legal question? Honestly, I do not believe there is any strong morality, a question of morals and how fast you go. No one's saying like, I'm just opposed deep in my soul because of my faith to traveling at 61 miles per hour. Nobody says that. The reason we have that law is for a more logical and practical reason. We say, well, typically in this area, due to the length of distance between streetlights and the amount of time you have to stop, we think the speed limit should be lower, high pedestrian traffic, lower speed limit. It's not about morality. It's about functionality and safety, right? But there are certain laws that are based on moral questions. This right here is absolutely morals based. And I think it's correct. I'm not saying it's correct to ban flags or anything like that. That's entirely up to the city council that votes on it. My point is that in this country, we do have, as I often mention, laws that don't make sense. Laws from a long time ago that say, like, you can't put a pie on your windowsill on Sunday afternoon. Nobody enforces that law anymore. Even though it's on the books, no one's going to enforce it because morality and cultural cohesion matter so much more. This is the perfect example of everything that I've been talking about. An all-Muslim city council says, of course we'll ban pride flags. And you know what? I don't care. They can do what they want. It's their town. They voted for it. The funny thing is, the LGBTQ couple kissing in public at the meeting to protest this. Y'all are the ones who supported this. I have a friend. This is the weirdest thing. I had a friend who had this poster in her room, and it was, pro-Muslim, like, image of a woman in a hijab or whatever. And I'm just like, women in Iran are protesting, ripping these things off their heads. You know what I mean? Like, I genuinely don't understand how you can have these people begging for some kind of liberal, true liberalism, classical liberalism, and then actively be like, I support the religion that they follow and all that stuff. Like, I get it. I shouldn't be so obtuse. You're allowed to practice your religion, and that's what we want to defend. But when I say something like, sure, we invite these people in, but you do realize they're all going to want to live near each other, and they're going to vote for their laws, and they're going to give you this. Now they're shocked about it. Well, I'm not. I don't care. I tweeted something earlier that I'm sure might irk some pro-lifers, but I'm not pro-life. I'm certainly not psychotically pro-abortion like the left is, more traditional liberal position. And I think many of you probably agree, but not all of you. I know a lot of people who watch very much disagree with me on this one. And we try to figure out how to work together. But I said, I got an idea. If you're pro-life, you're not allowed to get an abortion. And if you're pro-choice, we'll help you get one. And it's not a serious tweet, but I'm making the point. Please, the things that you vote for and ask for, we will deliver to you. But what's funny is the pro-lifers completely understood the point I was making. And it's oh so sad that the left had no understanding. And so it's like I get these responses from people and they're like, so basically what we're asking for, you're so dumb. Do you think this is a gotcha? No, I don't think it's a gotcha. Not at all. I'm saying excise yourself from the gene pool. I'm saying you will. It actually kind of horrifies me that these people are so willing to do this. But this is my point. If the left is hell-bent on pro-choicers just getting abortions whenever they want, and people on the right are morally opposed to it and won't do it even if it is legal, the end result is obvious. Liberals will remove their children from the population and there will be no new liberal voters, and conservatives will have more kids and the country will become conservative. Now, a lot of people are like, yeah, but the schools and all that. No, you don't understand. These people, their ideas, their policies are completely self-destructive. I'm very optimistic that this country is going to make it through the tumultuous period of wokeness. Yeah, there may be civil war because, however you want to define it, I don't know the extent to how bad it will get. We're at the point where the president arrested his political rival, so things may be getting bad. But I don't see them winning this one. I really just don't. You take a look at these images. You take a look at this story about the city council in Hamtramck. Like, what do you think's going to happen? These people keep inviting policies that destroy their moral framework or lack thereof. So what happens? Okay, by all means, keep bringing in more religious conservatives. Support endless migration. More religious conservatives. You think that you're going to win these votes? It ain't going to happen. And what do we know about the people crossing the southern border? Many of these Latino, Hispanic individuals crossing the border, they're Christians. Not all of them. The propensity for the proportionality of Christians among the Hispanic population has gone down, but many of those crossing the border, they're literally Christians. So by all means, you keep bringing them in, and this is what's going to happen. They say a Michigan city with an all-Muslim government has banned LGBTQ flags from public areas after a bizarre hours-long meeting. The Hamtramck City Council took a turn when a young woman wearing a clown nose made a speech mocking the council and its majority Muslim population before kissing a woman standing next to her Tuesday night. Sure, many Hamtramck residents have fled countries where being gay is a death sentence, but nothing says we have to make it comforting and welcoming here, the woman said on Tuesday night. Well, we can't legally discriminate against LGBTQ people in the U.S. anymore. The city of Hamtramck can say, ew, no, be proud somewhere else. The meeting was so well attended, people were listening from the hallways as council members said the pride flag clashed with the beliefs of some members of their faith. Can you believe it? Absolutely amazing. Businesses and residents in the Detroit suburb aren't prohibited from displaying a pride flag on their own property. You see? You guys are welcome, Council Member Naeem Chaudhary said, but why do you have to have the flag shown on government property to be represented? You're already represented. We already know who you are. We want to respect the religious rights of our citizens, Chaudhary said. He's right. He's completely right. This is the correct move. Do not display a hate symbol on public property. And the Progress Pride flag and the Pride flag is an abject hate symbol. Now, look, the left is going to say, oh, Tim Fool, he's so stupid. It's not a hate symbol. You can call it whatever you want. But if Christians, a protected class, and Muslims, a protected class, are offended by your symbol, which is not a traditional long-standing symbol of this country, it is a hate symbol by your definition, not mine. Not mine. Okay? I honestly think you want to fly a flag, fine, so be it. But I agree with the idea of not flying ideological symbols that are offensive on public property. There is, however, a limit. The American tradition, if it has been longstanding in this country, then I think within reason we accept those things. So if the state of Virginia wants to fly the Gadsden flag, then I think that is appropriate and acceptable because that is a flag of our country, a traditional flag representing this nation and its freedom. However, the issue with the pride flag is that it quite literally misappropriates God's covenant, which is particularly offensive to those who have faith in the Abrahamic religions. I don't know exactly about Islam and the Quran and all that stuff, but I know that there is I believe it is mostly shared. Christians and Jews do share the same idea of God's covenant after the flood, but I could be wrong. What I know is the rainbow is supposed to represent God's covenant to earth that it will never be flooded again. And now, by all means, I'm not saying you have to be Christian and believe any of that stuff. I'm saying if there is a protected class that cherishes this symbol, and then you take it and use it to symbolize sexual activity, you understand why that would be offensive to some groups. If you want to fly that flag on public property, you are going to have you're going to have people saying like you're insulting me. You have right now the drag nuns in California. I mean, this is a Christian minstrel show. It's intended to mock and insult a protected class in this country. If you want to maintain that we must protect protected classes and we must do away with hate speech, it is your leftist definition that we are agreeing with in that capacity. Saying, okay, fine, no pride flags. You're the one who asked for it. But of course, they don't really want equality. What they want is supremacy. Hamtramck population, 27,000, is an enclave surrounded by Detroit. More than 40% of residents were born in other countries, according to the U.S. Census. It became the first city in America to have a majority Muslim population in 2015. The two women kissing were followed up by Dearborn activist Hassan Aoun, who spoke passionately against the pride flag. He said, quote, "I am a Lebanese person and I support the American flag. We are not going to sit here and tolerate you guys coming and saying, oh, it's Pride Month, you're gay? No problem. Don't sit here and throw it down kids' throats, my throat, or anybody's throat." The council voted unanimously to display only 5 flags, including the American flag, the Michigan flag, and one that represents the native countries of immigrant residents. Mayor Amr Ghalib made the flag a campaign issue when then Mayor Karen Majewski flew one on city property in 2021. You can see a lot of people were here. We serve everybody equally with no discrimination, but without favoritism. Ghalib told the Daily Mail he was upset by what he felt was residents and the media believing they're targeting the LGBTQ plus community. It's not targeting any specific group, but it doesn't allow any preferential treatment for any group either. It confirms the neutrality of the city government, and it doesn't allow any religious, racial, ethnic, political, or sexual orientation group flags on public or city properties. Bravo. Oh, that is based. The American flag flies. That's what they said. But any individual group that wants to fly a flag representing one, no preferential treatment. The only flag we fly is the American flag. And you know what? That means they ain't going to be flying the Gadsden flag, I'd imagine. And I'm a big fan of the Gadsden flag, but I can accept that. The American flag is the flag of all people in this country. If you are gay, straight, lesbian, bi, trans, if you are an immigrant, if you are a Christian, if you are a Muslim, if you're a Buddhist, if you're a Hellenistic pantheist or whatever, then the flag represents you too. Because that is what the flag has always meant. Well, if you look at the Constitution, if you look at the Declaration of Independence, you can see the messaging was there, but it was never truly upheld properly in the early. I shouldn't say never. I should say that in the early days, it wasn't being truly upheld. And great men like Frederick Douglass challenged the American people to uphold their own words that all men are created equal. All men as in all humans. And so what has happened? The flag came to symbolize civil rights, equality, and it helped to create the greatest nation this world has ever seen. Talk about a heck of a story. Ain't it great? So why come here and supplant our symbol of peace, equality, civil rights. Don't get me wrong, the peace thing, it's been subverted. The United States certainly has its problems, but this country was doing real good until old Woodrow Wilson came in. So maybe the symbol starts to change in that capacity. And for many around the world, it doesn't symbolize those things anymore. But I assert that in this country, we all should assert that meaning. The flag represents strength, honor, integrity, unity, civil rights, real justice, equality under the law. All of these things in this country that have helped make it the greatest nation on this planet. And I hear the left saying things all the time, like, but look at Norway, they got better healthcare. And it's like, the United States may not have the best healthcare, may not have the best education system, may not have the best railways. But I will tell you this, across the board, you do the math for the size of the country, the accomplishments we've had, the inventions we've made, the standard of living increases that we've brought to all people, the expansion of civil rights. You're not gonna be able to tell me. A country of a few million people, yeah, maybe they can do better than us in a lot of ways. But for what this country is, for its size, for its unity, can't be beat. Can't be beat. You look at these other countries, and nah. Now, this country may be losing its way, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things we have to fix. There's a lot of things we have to fight for. And the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. We can never let go. So when these ideological, zealous groups try to fly their flag over ours, we say no. I stand here in solidarity with my Muslim brothers and sisters, immigrants and Muslims, who said outright, we believe in the American flag and we don't prioritize anyone over anyone else. And I'm like, here. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's based. And this is what the left gets. We tell them, look, when you import religious conservatives, you're going to get religious conservative policy. So be it. I ain't crying about it. I got no beef here. That's what I was talking about with abortion. My stance on this is basically there are very difficult civil rights questions pertaining to two individuals in one body. And I think that if the baby can survive, terminating the life of the baby is wrong and should be illegal. But that means that there is a period before viability of the baby where we have a serious question to ask about whether the government can mandate another person provide their body to someone else. Perhaps if there is a consensual offer that results in, pregnancy, well, then you have a challenging question as to whether or not someone can rightfully evict the baby, which would kill it. But these questions of logic and morality leave me in a morally vague pro-choice position. And I say morally vague in that I am not wise enough to solve these problems, these philosophical questions and legal questions. So I typically err on the side of, for that reason, within a certain time period, I believe that it should not be a matter for government intervention. After a certain time period, it should. This is the traditional pro-choice Democrat position. The only problem now is that Democrats have gone full pro-abortion with no restrictions up to the point of birth, which is just outright psychotic. So I'll tell you this. Pro-lifers. Yeah, they find it abhorrent. They want it to stop and be banned completely at all stages. I hear you, and I understand the argument. And it gives me strong moral and ethical questions in my mind. I just don't have the answers. I don't. I can at least tell you one thing. If pro-lifers aren't having abortions and they are having kids, and pro-choicers are having abortions, even up to the point of birth, the future is conservative. Period. This is your proof. I've had people ask me like, Tim, how can you believe that the future is going to be conservative? If the left is indoctrinating our kids in these schools and doing all these things. And I'm like, it's right here. It's right here. It's plain as day. They bring in religious conservative immigrants and then they ban the pride flag. So what do you think is going to happen when it comes to birthing children? And you will say, yeah, but they're indoctrinating kids everywhere, all across the board. It's like, it ain't stopping these people. Do you think that this all-Muslim council is going to have their kids be taught that their ideas are wrong? Ain't going to happen. They are in control now. They are the majority. So try as they might to indoctrinate your kids, it will not work. Some kids will be indoctrinated. We're seeing it. But these are typically less morally strong families. Many conservative families are facing things like this. But the stories we hear about a person having their kids be, indoctrinated, These tend to be default liberal types who don't pay attention. The people of strong faith who are bringing their kids to church or to mosque or to temple or to whatever, to synagogue, these kids are being surrounded and protected by a larger religious community who are not going to allow these bad things to happen to these kids. It's just not going to happen. So I look at this and I say, to the left, so be it, man. You reap what you sow. This is what you've asked for. I ain't going to be crying about it. Me, I'll get by just fine. I may have disagreements with religious conservatives on the questions, on many moral questions. But for the most part, I will tell you this. In that meme that Elon Musk shared, where you have the left and the right, and then the left moves so far left that now the traditional centrist left individuals are closer to right wingers. Yeah, we're all there, baby. I'll put it this way. If you come to me and you say that you want babies to be aborted up to 9 months with no restrictions, I'm going to tell you that you're insane. There's literally no logical reason to do that. If the baby must be delivered from the woman because the pregnancy must be terminated, the baby is alive and can survive on its own. Why kill it? But that's what an abortion does. That's the legal definition, terminating the pregnancy in a way that ends the life of the baby. They say, what if the baby's stillborn? It is not aborting a pregnancy if the baby is already dead. It actually is legally distinct from that. And there's complicated questions, but in terms of the law and the legal questions, when we refer to abortion, let me just clarify for you. It is if the baby is alive and you terminate its life in the process. If you come to me and say you want no restrictions up to the point of birth, I'm going to say no, never happening. I will never vote for that. If I have to choose between one of two candidates and one guy says, I want to ban abortion, I go, okay, well, that's a little extreme. I mean, banning it outright, there's a lot of circumstances where there may be a necessity, and there's questions about the rights of women who's like raped or something. So, that's tough. And then the person over here says, I would like to have anyone be allowed to abort a baby at any point for any reason up to 9 months. I'm like, I'm going to vote for this guy. You know why? I don't think either of them are good options, but clearly one is more morally just. And if the only choice is we have to ban all of it to stop these people from outright just killing babies at 9 months, I'm like, damn, that's not, I'm not of the conservative pro-life position, but you better believe I'd vote for that over abortion at 9 months. That's crazy. And that's what they're doing. So now you're ending up with people like me saying, this Muslim city council says no preferential treatment for any ideological group. That's based. I completely agree with that. 100%. So I'm good. If you want to push centrists and traditional liberals and disaffected liberals towards the religious right, congratulations, you've done it. And you reap what you sow. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.